It is a scam when you don't allow everyone to operate on fair terms.
We are the Robin Hoods of sports betting. We take something back from the rich bookies and enable our customers to beat them instead.
G'day everyone, welcome to episode 8, I believe, of Sunday Streams. I've got the wrong lower third up, great start. Sunday Streams, if you haven't been along before, we answer your betting questions, discuss both the new and old betting strategies, how to best use the TradeMate Sports software, and welcome on guests from around the betting industry. Today, as been nicely advertised, as you all should hopefully know, we are getting on Smart Sports Trader, and we're going to talk about his Making a Million from Sports Betting Challenge. And I know that people that are familiar with the channel and obviously avid MMA and UFC followers, you've probably seen quite a lot of Ryan on the channel. And yeah, I mean, we've obviously just always talked MMA, haven't talked too much about his actual challenge and what he's tried to do with his sports betting in general, not just MMA. So it'll be really interesting to go through all of that. He is just a couple minutes late. I think he's putting the kids to bed, so I'm sure he'll be on any moment now. But yeah, feel free to start sending through any questions that you have for him. But yeah, we'll basically just be going one by one through all of his strategies that he's used in his bid to make $1 million from sports betting, or £1 million. And I guess, just go and break down each one and look at kind of what have been the good things about that strategy, the bad things, what he would change, as he looking back now. I think he's been doing it for at least 2 or 3 years now. So, what would he go back and change? But so that will be very, very interesting. We can also, harp on and talk about all the stuff that he's done in MMA and exactly, I mean, normally we just talk about individual fights and how he's come to that conclusion on a particular fight. Maybe we can actually delve a bit deeper and talk about his process and how he goes about his business. In the meantime, send through your questions and maybe I can just I can share some of my results with TradeMate in the last week. One moment. So I think last time I left you guys, I'd hit pretty low or somewhere around here, like profit of $4,000 or something like that. So things have gone, I guess, slightly upwards since then, which is to be expected after a terrible downturn, and they've gone off a bit. But I'll stop babbling along because he's right here. How are you, mate?
Hi, buddy. Are you okay?
Oh, mate, I'm all right. I went
You
to
ill?
the. No, I'm just very tired. I went to they have this thing called Magic Round here, and it was up in Brisbane, and they play 3 games of rugby league in one day at one stadium.
Right.
And I just didn't get home till very late last night, mate. So I haven't had much sleep at all.
Suffering for it.
Suffering. I did a nice little intro of you before, mate.
Did you?
And
Cool.
as I was doing the intro, I realised I haven't even moved over those pictures that you sent me, your graphs, to this computer that I do the streaming off. So, have you got them handy? If not, I can quickly move them over, or maybe I can.
Yeah.
Actually,
just check. I did save them, I think, somewhere.
Maybe I can.
Where would they be?
I'll see if I can do it too. But sorry, everyone. We've just got some nice graphs of Ryan's journey with the Making a Million challenge. And because I'm just bloody useless today, I have forgotten.
Let's have a look.
All right. But how about the UFC yesterday, mate? That was a shocker.
Got crushed last night, mate. 0-5, so it's the worst.
Oh,
I can't really remember losing that much money on a single event before, so it wasn't great. But these things happen, and it's kind of as you know, when you start to stake more as well, your losses become bigger, and you've got to get used to them. Because I remember initially like losing like 50 quid in a day, and that kind of hurting a bit, and then it goes up to 100. And then it goes up to like 200, and then I'm fairly comfortable losing like 500 a day now. But that was about 800 yesterday, so that it did sting a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe it. I didn't watch any of the fights yesterday. I still haven't watched.
Did you not know?
I haven't, no, just because I was at the game. But I just remember I was checking my phone every like half an hour or so of the results, and I was like, oh, there goes another one. Oh, there goes another one. There goes another one. I was like, this is just shocker.
The Chandler bet was the worst. I mean, like, just so everyone knows, we bet Chandler to win by KO at 3.5, so got really good odds. I think it closed at like 2.8. But yeah, that was one of the worst ones.
Yeah. Oh, well, mate, we roll on. I've actually managed to move over these graphs in the meantime. But
cool.
All right, so I'm just trying to find did you have an overall graph? Oh, yeah. No, that's the value betting.
I've got an overall graph on my website, so I can share the screen with you.
Yeah, I can.
If that's handy, but the ones I sent you were kind of broken down with like the match betting, value betting, and casino stuff, and kind of had it all broken down. But yeah.
Oh, I've gone on your website and I found it. Have you done 46 months?
Say that again, buddy. Sorry, it broke up a bit.
Have you done 46 months, haven't you? That sound about right.
48, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, this is your results after 40.
But I mean, it's not too far off.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, mate. I mean, it's been 48 months. So, quick maths. What's that? 4 years.
4 years, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe just give an overall summary of how everything's gone, and obviously looking at the graph, it's been smooth sailing. You would say that there hasn't really been any big downturns, or I wouldn't say any big upturns either. So yeah, maybe speak us through that.
Yeah, so it's just a lot of volume, really. Like I use several different strategies. So when I first started, I was mainly doing match betting. So match betting 4 years ago, it was a lot easier to make money. There was a lot more kind of opportunities. Like when I first started match betting in like 2010, with just like one set of accounts, so just betting out of your own account, you could clear like £1,000 a month quite easily. So, like as time went on and more people started doing it, obviously it hit the bookmakers a bit more, and it you make less and less from that as time goes on. But even 4 years ago, I was still making like, I don't know, probably at least 500 to like 1,500 from match betting over a few accounts. So initially that's kind of what my focus was. And then as time's gone on and those opportunities aren't there, I've switched to doing a lot more value betting now. So there's a bit more like volatility and variance with that. I churn over like hundreds of value bets a month, similar to kind of TradeMate, but there's like a few other things I do as well. And then there's casino offers. So I exploit any casino offers that are plus EV. And that's all about volume as well. I've done just thousands and thousands of casino offers. And then there's a little bit of arbitrage in there as well. And that kind of just helps steady the ship. That's just kind of small profits. And earlier on, I was doing a bit more of that. But again, as time's gone on, I do kind of less and less of that. And then there's also Betfair trading that I do. But that's mostly like pre-match trading. So that's trying to open and close positions before the start of a football game, or boxing's quite good for it. And I found that MMA as well, especially the main events. So I think that's everything. And then there's been a little bit of tipsters, but that's only made like £1,000 over the 4 year period. So it's quite a small amount.
So I guess you're probably going through like more of an evolutionary phase in the whole journey, like the last, couple of months, or, moving into the next couple of months. Like it's changed. Like your strategies are changing up a lot more than they were, in month 1 and 2 and so on.
Yeah, so like edges don't, they don't stay around forever, unfortunately. That's something like I was saying about match betting. When I first started match betting, I didn't really realize what was in front of me at the time. Like I had a friend who started at the same time, and he just kind of went all in with match betting. While I like moved to Thailand and kind of like messed around and just did it here and there. And he's pretty much retired now from the money he made from match betting. He kind of bought some businesses. So he did really well from that. So like maybe I didn't make the best decision, but yeah. So like
You
as time goes on, you
stingers, obviously, mate.
Well, yeah. But yeah, like as time goes on, it's like now, like casino offers seem to have dropped off a lot this year. So I've made like over £40,000 from casino offers. So that's a big chunk of kind of those profits there. But now this year, that seems to, the opportunity to do that has dropped off quite a lot. So now I'm looking at other areas. Now I'm kind of looking more into tipsters, seeing what I can do there. I chat to Neil quite a bit because Neil's he's similar approach to mine in that we've got some solid strategies like value betting. Obviously that's one of our biggest ones, but he's always looking for like other edges as well. So it's just you've just got to keep evolving, really. I think kind of Jonas has talked about like you can't just like stand still. It's like when you're making money he was making money from like SBO bet and those big Asian bookies, and then they start to limit you. You've got to kind of find other ways to make money in other edges.
Yeah, good question coming here from Marius. He said a realistic starting budget for starting $1 million or pound or euro challenge in this case. I thought this was quite interesting. Like looking at your graph, because with I guess in general, like what we say at TradeMate is the more money you make from sports betting, and if you have all all these great strategies and they work, like your growth will be exponential, because if especially it's probably a lot different in your case because you're kind of doing this part-time, so a lot of this money is going towards living expenses and all that kind of stuff. But I guess most people might look, at least I look at this graph and think, why isn't it more exponential? Like, as your bankroll gets bigger, your stakes get bigger. So like, is there a reason why it hasn't kind of taken off, or is it more so just down to your strategy? And maybe answer Marius's question in the meantime, if that,
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a tough one really for like, how much would you need to actually make $1 million? Obviously I've not made anywhere near $1 million, and it's taken me 4 years to make 100K, so it's gonna it's gonna take me a long.
I hope you're alive, man.
It's gonna take me 40 years, so I'll be kicking back in retirement. But yeah, in terms of like why it's not been like exponential and it's not just taken off is I'm the biggest earner, I suppose, in the household. So I've got 2 kids and a wife, and when I first started that challenge, we'd not been. Like I moved back to England in like 2013 from Thailand, I think, and I didn't really have any money or a house or anything like that. I never kind of used a lot of the money from match betting and betting in general to get a house, and then probably shelled out about 10K in visa fees and stuff for my wife to finally become like a British citizen. So that's like another, so that's probably taken like, well, I think the deposit on the house was like 30K, so that's 40K already. So even though I have been making that money, it's not all been like going in the bankroll. Like I've been using it for other things. Like now, I'm finally at the point where I can just have like that betting bankroll, and it's like it is just growing now. Whatever I make does just go back into the bankroll. So hopefully in the next few years, might see like a bit more growth.
Yeah, I mean, and talking about like a realistic budget for starting a challenge, I guess it's just all down to how long you're willing to take. If you want to, oh, you're saying in a year. So I mean, Jonas is probably the best person to ask. But Jonas like has admitted that even though he did start with 10K, he obviously had a lot of run good. Like he's told me plenty of times, and he's probably shared it on videos too, that he did get lucky in that year, and I think he was maybe expected to make 500 to 750K or something like that, but he ended up making $1 million. So and his growth was exponential, I guess, exactly like we just talked about there. Like he essentially just reinvested everything he made. So if he started with 10K and he made 10K in the first month, he was playing with 20K the next month, and then next month he's playing with 50K, and next thing you know, you're putting stakes of, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars down, and that's how you can make $1 million. But I mean, also the opposite can happen, and you can lose your whole bankroll really, really quickly. So I guess, yeah, using the Kelly criterion for those who have never heard of the Kelly criterion, or like effective ways to be staking, you kind of always want to be staking a percentage of your bankroll. So if it gets bigger or smaller, that's how you adjust your staking. It's not just, you know, from the start, it's not just, if you've chosen one unit as 50 quid or whatever, it's not just doing 50 quid for the rest of your journey. Like, you should be scaling up and down dependent on the size of your bankroll. But I mean, it's completely different for you, mate. If you're in a different financial situation and you need to be thinking about kids and a wife and all that, mate, it's you got a lot more to worry. I'd like to know, because I don't know, people on this channel might know, but I'm going part-time in a couple of weeks with my own sports betting and you know, sharing time with TradeMate and sports betting. Like, I've just been wondering myself the last couple of weeks, I probably should have a definitive plan here, but like, the difference between, because I haven't got a big starting bankroll either, like, how is it nowadays in terms of finding a percentage between taking that money and feeding your family with it, compared to like putting that money back into the bankroll? Have you like worked out like a percentage or anything like that?
So no, I don't really do it that way now, because I also work part-time. So I work 2 days a week. I'm quite fortunate, really. I work 2 days a week, but it's classed as 48 hours, because when I sleep, I also get paid for it. So I get a full-time salary, which covers all my bills and mortgage and everything. And then I get 5 days off a week. So really, I am able to like bet probably like at a full-time basis. Really, I do put like 20 to 30 hours a week at least into my betting and trading. So like previously, like I was like using the money that I was making from sports betting and trading to put towards like family holidays and, like I say, visa fees for my wife and like the house and stuff. But now it all goes back into the bankroll. I have invested some of it as well, put some in like an index fund. I put a bit into bet markets, as we talked about, and that didn't go great. But yeah, it's like the last 2 years I've just been able to kind of let my bankroll build up. But it's also just like a psychological thing with me as well. Like, I have like a set amount of money that I'm quite happy to lose, and it doesn't affect me at all. And it's something I need to work on, really, like as I stake more and more. And obviously your wins get bigger, but your losses also get bigger. But you have to kind of become like happy with that, you know, and that's probably something I need to look at a little bit more.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting, mate. We got Connor here. He's gone with the question of, great work, mate, and the website is brilliant. Do you do sports betting full time, which you kind of answered a little bit before?
Yeah, so like I say, I do, in a way, I do put like full-time hours into sports betting, but I'm also working as well. But like I said, I'm kind of in a fortunate position where I've got a really good job where, you know, I can work 2 days and you know, I've covered 48 hours. So that's I'm lucky in that respect.
And you're also obviously running the website too, so that would take a bit of your time also.
Yeah, that takes it doesn't take too much time. Like I put it, I mean, it's kind of up to me, really. It depends how much stuff I want to do. But if I'm doing reviews and stuff, it does take a bit more time. But that also brings in like a smaller income as well. So that's pretty cool to have.
I will say, mate, the YouTube channel, it's upgraded. I've seen a few new, you changed up a few camera angles, mate. Like,
did that by accident.
Oh, God.
No, you don't realize how much time it takes to make like a small, 8 to 10 minute video. Like, it takes like hours. So it's something I'd like to do a little bit more of, but I'll get there in the end.
Yeah. Last question, and then we'll go on to just like looking at breakdown of every strategy you've done. Mario says, do you have a winning limitation per month?
So I don't have like an amount that I'll make and then I'll stop betting, because it's like an edge is an edge. Like, you can have a really good month or whatever, and you could make a few thousand. Like I say, I lost like £800 yesterday, but before that, the month had been pretty good. I was up about 1,700 or something like that. So I'll never like stop at 2,000 because there might be some really good opportunities in like the last 2 weeks or whatever. It's all about just taking the opportunities that are there, and it's just similar to TradeMate really. It's all about volume.
Yeah. Okay, mate, let's have a look at the first graph I got up here. So this is your monthly results for match betting, value betting, and arbing. Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty similar to the overall graph, but yeah, maybe you just want to speak a little bit about your journey with match betting and arbing. I mean, you've already talked a lot about match betting. We know it's not as viable as it was back in the day, but what about something like arbing? Is that something you're actively trying to do?
Yeah, so I still do a bit of arbing, like just kind of when the opportunity is there. I don't hammer my soft books with big arbs, but like there are smaller arbs that probably people don't notice too much, because like on Twitter, I can remember a few times some people have messaged me saying just like arbing doesn't work anymore and like you're full of BS and stuff like that. But there's always opportunities that come up. Like I'll tell you, in like probably the end of 2019, the start of 2020, there was like an Asian bookie called Free ET, and that came up on Asian Connect. And like every week there was small arbs with them. There was like 0.7% arbs with the betting exchanges, and then if you have like 0% on Smarkets as well, you could do all right with that. And because it was an Asian book, you could get decent stakes down. So like even if you have like a 0.5% arb, you can turn that into a pretty decent value bet by just like leaving some money on one side. So you can give yourself like a 3-4% value bet. So I was doing like stuff like that until that kind of edge disappeared. They obviously, I don't know if it was a promotional period or they just wised up, but that disappeared. So I still do like arbing when stuff comes up. Like you will get arbs between exchanges. Sometimes it is quite rare, but it does happen. And then like a new bookie will come up sometimes and they might have a few arbs. So I don't do like a huge amount of it. Like I say, it kind of just pads the variance a little bit. That's kind of why I like to do it.
And how are you finding these arbs? Is it manually or are you using a software or?
Yeah, so like there was ones that were on Free ET. That was just something I noticed manually. I use something called the Odds Monkey that I've been using that for like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. That's for match betting, but it has like it has like an odds matcher software, so you can see like all the odds it's got like 60, 70 bookies. It's pretty slow. So a lot of the time you'll miss them, but that pops a few up. And sometimes I'll just notice them if I'm looking at a market for like a betting purpose. I might just see an arbitrage bet there, but like I said, I don't do a huge amount. I don't know, I'd say like less than 10 a month at least. It's not massive.
Yeah, because I went through a period where I was like I just set up a preset in TradeMate, like edges over like 10% or something like that, and see if I could find a few arbs. And I found a bit, but it just depends on the league and the margin and stuff like that. It wasn't like even like a 10% edge was like, it was an arb, but it's like it's such a small arb that you'd have to be staking thousands for it to like turn into a decent like a couple $100 profit or something like that. So I mean, it's probably worth your time if you're going to make a couple $100, but you would think that, I don't know, do you think if you're taking obviously just one side at a bookie and arbing it out somewhere else, do you think they see like a massive stake come on something all of a sudden? Do you think they cotton onto that, or they just think that might just be a mug kind of thing to do, even though you probably end up closing with a huge edge, even if it was like just as a straight value bet?
No, I think they'll spot it pretty quickly. I think there's some markets that they spot quicker than others. So on like horse racing arbs, like you tend to get shut down pretty quick if you're doing that. But like I'd say, like I don't know, even like UFC, boxing, stuff like that, you can maybe find some arbs and stuff, which might go under the radar a little bit more. And then like there are arbs between exchanges sometimes as well, but like I don't want to go too much into that because then I won't be able to get on them at all. So like there is still opportunities out there. It's just not as kind of easy, I suppose, as just like smashing Marathon Bet or whatever, because Marathon Bet will limit you pretty quickly.
Yeah. And you've obviously got value betting stats here too, and you've also got a graph for just normal sports betting. I guess, like, how do you separate those two in terms, like, what's the difference in your mind between value betting and sports betting?
Oh, so sports betting, that's just my own. That's my own bets. So that's my own analysis. It's not. It's not always based on what the market's doing at that time. So it's mainly UFC, but there's also some like in-play football on there, and there's a few like pre-match football bets as well. So yeah, that's just a way to separate it, so I know how I'm doing compared to like how the other stuff's doing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Fair enough. All right. Well, I just got your sports betting graph up now. So yeah, obviously not as much profit, and yeah, a lot more volatile than the arbing and match betting and value betting. Yeah, kind of talk us through your journey here. You're basically, I assume you're at peak profits now with your sports betting, and this is, I guess, involves a lot of your MMA stuff.
Yeah, so mainly MMA. Like, to kind of see at the start, I'm kind of just finding my feet, I suppose, treading water a little bit. I was playing quite a lot of football, and then I think, like, I checked at the end of last year, and like my football results were like I had like a 0.7% ROI or something like that. So yeah, it's mainly MMA stuff now, and I do some in-play football betting when I can see something that's obvious, and I'm watching the game, because they do make mistakes in the in-play markets. They're a lot less like efficient than the pre-match football markets, I think. But yeah, it's just mainly MMA stuff that we kind of talk about, on a regular basis on the pod. It's that style of betting.
Yeah. Okay, and one of the questions I wanted to ask about your MMA betting, which I've always forgotten to ask, is if you've ever thought of modeling MMA, or if you even think that's possible to create a model for the MMA markets. Have you ever thought of that?
I mean, I'm sure it's possible, and I'm sure there's people that are doing very well from it. It's just the way, like, I approach it. Like, I'm not like that mathematical minded. Like, I can understand the basic concepts of how to make money, like sports betting. But if you ask me to create a model, I'd have to spend some time researching how to do it and put a lot of time into it. And with MMA, I feel like I can make a profit just from studying the tape of the fighters, and then kind of assessing in my head how the fight's going to go and how likely it is, that a fight is going to win or a fight is going to lose, or, they're going to get a submission, a KO, or a decision. And that's worked out pretty well for me over the years. So I don't see, that much reason for changing it.
Yeah, so that's your process there, mate. You just look at tape. Do you look at the prices first, or are you looking at or are you trying to think of the prices in your head first, before you go and check at the bookmakers?
No, so normally I'll like have a scan of the event and then see if anything just kind of sticks out just there and then from memory, because obviously I watch a lot of MMA, so sometimes I'll just see like that. I mean, I saw a few weeks. I think it was about 2 weeks ago, Andrea Lee fought yesterday against Antonina Shevchenko, and she was like 2.6. I remember thinking, right, that's a big price, but I need to just watch some tape and be sure of it. But then I forgot about it basically and waited a little bit longer, and she was like 2.2 by the next time I looked at it. So there is like, that might be like a drawback, I suppose, if you had that model that's just there, that would just spit out that, that's the value price straight away. That's the drawback of having to watch tape, because when you're watching, 3 or 4 fights, or, from each fighter, that takes a few hours. So that is like a drawback of it. But sorry, mate, I've forgotten the actual question now. What was it?
No, that's fine. It was more so just asking, oh, mate, I can't even remember the question either. Well, I think we were just talking about, if you look at the prices first. Yeah, so you do look at the prices first. And
right, yeah.
You do your analysis after that. I had another good question for you, but obviously, it was about modeling again. Do you think you could, because I've always thought it would be really hard to model, because styles make fights. So it's not like you get 2 football teams together, and most of the time the better football team, any sport or any team kind of sport, like normally the better the team will win, just because they're it's not like any football team's playing like a revolutionary style or like something completely different to what the other the other team's doing. Whereas in fighting, you could literally have a guy that's never striked before facing a guy that has striked all his life, but he can't wrestle for shit. So it's like, yeah, how do you like, do you think even a model would work in that sense? I've always thought that like maybe just like a database of maybe like rankings of how you rank certain fighters on their wrestling versus their striking, all those kind of things. That was the only thing that I thought would be maybe useful. But yeah, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think there are people that do use like metrics, even like looking at reach and kind of length, and like looking at previous like striking statistics and defense rates and stuff like that. But the only like issue I have with just using like raw data is that it can be heavily skewed. So like, let's say you've got one guy who's got 100% takedown defense, but he's never fought anyone that's that good at wrestling, and then you've got another guy who fought Khabib, and then he fought Islam Makhachev, and then he fought Kamaru Usman, and he's got a 0% takedown defense. They can be heavily skewed depending on the competition, so you've got to be careful about that. And it's the same with like striking statistics. It's like if there's, in one fight, one guy might take like 180 significant strikes or something ridiculous over 5 rounds, and that can like heavily skew the data. So that's the only reason why, like, I think you've got to be careful when you're just using raw data, and that's kind of why I like to watch tape and then just kind of assess how the styles of the fighters will match.
Yeah, I guess I think if there's ever a sport where it's, quite useful to, kind of just do it off the way you're doing it, analyzing tape and doing some research yourself, it's probably one of the better sports to do, because there's just so many variables. You could have like the best fighter in the world that's like, a great example is like Conor McGregor. Like at a point in time, he was the best lightweight or featherweight in the world, but his wrestling was, it's not that great, like compared to the, someone ranked, there was probably like guys that were ranked 20 at the time that were better wrestlers than him. So it's, trying to match up and make a model over that I would assume it would be quite complicated. Mate, I've got up here because we just got a question come through from Connor Houlihan, and he's asked about your video on bet markets, and I talked a little bit about that this week on Twitter, and he's asking if you still use tipsters. Sorry, so I thought I'll get the graph up of your tipster results. We can kind of move on to the next segment, and this is probably the most interesting graph out of all of them, mate. I mean, it's very very volatile. It's a bit all over the place. Like, I'm kind of looking at this graph and thinking that you've had maybe 3 really bad tipsters and 2 good tipsters.
Yeah, so there's big gaps where I didn't use any tipsters, so that's why the graph itself looks very strange. I don't know what's going on with that graph, but but when I started, I was using a few tipsters. I mean, the thing there are some good tipsters around, but the issue is with the majority of them is that they're all exploiting soft books. So it's similar to like TradeMate in a way. Like when you're beating the closing line consistently, even with a tipster, you end up losing accounts. So I've had some decent ones. Like I've had a decent basketball tipster, but I was finding my accounts were getting limited quite quickly with that, and I've had some decent horse racing tipsters as well. So now, like going forward, like I said, I'm looking at tipsters that will be profitable using Betfair. Using Betfair. Sorry, I kept looking at the question. Using Betfair and the exchanges. But in terms of bet markets, I do think they have some good tipsters, because I was doing like a little experiment, basically following some of their tipsters, and when they put up bets on bet markets, I was seeing if I could like get better prices than what they were putting up on bet markets, and if I was able to get a better price, or I was able to at least match it with some of the better tipsters, I was betting on them, and it'd been doing pretty well. It'd been pretty profitable, but I've taken all my money out of there now. So the only way that you can follow the tipsters, is to be staking them. So what you could do is, you could put a very small amount of money in bet markets, and you could still follow the tipsters, and have bet markets be placing like £1 or £2, and you could take the bets for yourself. But I don't know. I could see bet markets cracking down on that, because that's not what it's for, really.
Yeah, well, it's just, Yeah, I think like you said, it's a great platform, and I think the people behind it. I listened to a bunch of podcasts, with them, and I think he was on Smart Betting Club podcast, which I listened to it, and I was like, oh, this is a superb idea. And I even emailed them and asked them about, like, how are you able to get so much money down and all this kind of things. And yeah, I mean, I think myself, like, I probably shouldn't have been so naive to think, you can get thousands and thousands of dollars down for all these people on a tipster and not lose out on a good price. So yeah, it's one of those, and I think, like, the best way that you were able to get it across to people in your video was showing the price differences with Neil McDonald, and showing that he's sending out these picks at a certain price, and on his, like, normal tipster channel, and then the bet markets price is, I don't know how much significantly less it was, but at least his ROI was a lot smaller, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was about 4% smaller, but I mean, I did kind of understand that with bet markets, someone was expecting like a 5% ROI. I thought that even like with the kind of 20% and also them having to take lower odds, you might be able to churn out like somewhere between like a 1 to 2% ROI long term. But I just didn't really see that happening. So, but I mean, in the future, they might make some changes, or they might like cap the amount of people that are able to follow tipsters, and that way they might be able to bet and get better odds. I don't really know, but I took my money out just because I wasn't confident that it was going to turn a profit. And but I wish him all the best, though. Like, I hope it does turn out, because it's a cool idea, and like you say, the guys behind it do seem like genuine. So
yeah. Well, Neil's one of those, like, rarities, isn't he? Where he's got such a huge sample size of tips that that you can clearly see that he has an edge. Whereas, like, a lot of the tipsters on the platform, like, some of them don't even have a couple hundred. Like, they'll just have a couple hundred tips. And I know to a lot of people that'll seem like a massive sample size, but realistically, it's not. Like, you can get very lucky or very unlucky, on the other hand, over a couple of hundred tips and have no edge at all. I mean, I think when I first started this Sunday stream stuff, I ran some simulations at the start of, like, people who had a negative edge in betting that had like a negative 1% edge, and there was like a decent chance of them being profitable over a couple hundred bets just out of sheer luck. So yeah, I mean, I'm in no way saying that the tipsters on there that I've got no edge, because I've got no idea, but they've obviously been vetted and highly looked over. But yeah, it's pretty clear that they need to make some changes to the platform. I think the biggest one is the just showing their results on bet markets versus real life, I guess, like, because all the records there are all from pre-bet markets, and those results aren't really realistic once you get on the platform. So that would at least be a bit more transparent. I guess that's the best way of putting it, and people won't go in and see an 8% ROI and think, oh yeah, this will be good fun.
yeah, I think they are implementing that. I think that's something they said they were gonna do, but yeah, it does need to be done.
Yeah. So yeah, how do you like these days? How do you go about finding a tipster? Are you following anyone else other than Neil McDonald at the moment?
So I'm following a Greyhound tipster called Premier Greyhound Tips, and he's got like a record going back to 2014. And someone had just pointed him out to me and said that that it was a good tipster. And I read a lot about betting, and I'm a member of the Smart Betting Club as well, and they kind of assess tipsters. And I'll look at like who's had like good reviews elsewhere, and then I'll contact them and see if they're open for me to review them. And that way, then if they are good, and I'll run like a 3-month like review period myself. And if they are good, then I will then follow that tipster myself and like add it to my overall portfolio. So yeah, at the moment I'm following Neil McDonald. He's like a proven football tipster over many years, thousands of bets. He's really good. And then a Greyhound tipster as well. And I follow like a lot of free tipsters that come with their Smart Betting Club as well. They've got some decent guys there.
Yeah, what's your I guess your vetting process like? Are you just strictly looking at the results, or are you looking to see if they're beating closing lines, or is it kind of dependent on the sport?
Yeah, it depends on the sport. I mean, so even I'd say when Neil McDonald is betting in big markets, but a lot of his bets are in the both teams to score market and stuff like that. So I don't know how efficient those markets are in terms of how the closing lines and stuff do. I don't think with TradeMate, I don't think that's a market that you guys look at. So I do look at results more than closing lines and stuff, and it's more just time as well. I don't have enough time to do that. I don't have enough time to look at every single closing line. I mean, it's a bit easier with horse racing and stuff because you've got the Betfair start price and stuff like that. But when you're talking about greyhounds, mind you, there's a starting price for them on Betfair as well. But if you're looking at other markets, then it's a little bit more difficult. So I'll just kind of follow them for 3 months at least, just in how obtainable the odds are, because there's a lot of tipsters that will put something out. So I was following one called the Basketball Geek, who was a pretty decent tipster, but he put stuff out at, so he's betting some at odds of 12, but I could only get odds of 9. So that's stuff that I'm more interested in. Can I actually get the odds that they're stating they're betting at? Because that makes a massive difference. Because if you got it, you can have a 20% ROI, but if I can't get close to the odds, then it's not much use.
Yeah, I mean, I followed tipsters too, where they'll put out, let's just say they put out their picks at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and you could be there ready to go, open the email with their tip, and the price is just not there anywhere. So you kind of get the feeling that they've sent out that price and then back to themselves, and it's just gone in, and the price is just completely gone. So yeah, I mean, it's one thing finding a good tipster, but even if you find a good tipster, it can be a bit difficult in terms of the actually being able to get the price. So yeah, I guess there's lots of things to factor in with a tipster, and one thing that people probably don't factor in at all is just having to pay a monthly or a weekly subscription, and how much that, I know it's probably in a lot of cases maybe small compared to the profits you're making, but it's still something you have to factor in. And if you only want to bet £10 or something per bet, and the subscription fee is £30 or something like that, you're probably not gonna, I mean, it's a decent chance you'll probably never make a profit, and if you do, it won't be much at all. I guess it's similar to with TradeMate and making sure that you have a big enough bankroll to start there. So yeah, lots of things to consider, mate. I mean, it can be a bit of a whirlwind trying to find a good tipster. So yeah, be interesting to see
totally, man.
If you can find any more good ones over your time. If anyone's got any more questions about tips, it's obviously a very interesting topic. Feel free to send them in. And please give us a like if you for the people that are watching. It's hugely appreciated. Maybe go share it on Twitter or something. Go share to your friends. Show how good Ryan's doing today. Why don't we talk about? I mean, we've talked a little bit about casino offers already. This is your graph for casino offers. So, I mean, for people on this channel, they're probably, a lot of them probably not even familiar with what casino offers are. They're probably seeing the little casino tab at the top of the website, but exactly what you try to do there and how you've actually been able to make money.
Yeah, so it's kind of similar to TradeMate in whether it's just a proven strategy. So it's just like mathematics. So it's when bookmakers might give you a cashback bonus, or some of them give you 20% increase on your winnings if you win that day. Or sometimes it's a bonus, a £50 bonus, and you've got to wager it 30 times. There's tons of different kind of bonuses and promotions, but it's all it's all just mathematics. It's I use a service to make it really easy for me, so that I don't have to kind of churn through every offer and kind of go through it all and see which one's a plus EV and which ones aren't. But the simplest way to explain it is just like the coin flip example. If someone's paying me £1, 5 pence every time the coin lands on heads, and I'm paying them £1 every time it lands on tails, we flip that coin 1,000 times. It's way more likely that I'm going to be in profit than they are, and that's just the same thing with casino offers. So it's not exciting or anything. Casino offers are pretty boring. It's just a churn. You're just trying to churn through as much volume as you can. And I think I've run pretty well with casino offers. You can see there's been a few little dips, but it's mainly been like a nice upward trend. So, but like I say, this year it has dropped off quite a lot. Not really sure why, but hopefully, we see kind of that come back again. Maybe with like cryptocurrency, we might see like another kind of era where we get some decent offers for like match betting and casino stuff. With cryptocurrency, that's my hope anyway.
Yeah. Well, how have they, I mean, a lot of the time you'll be using casinos that also have a sports book too. So how has that affected your sports betting, like account limitations and stuff like that? Would you say it's affected it positively or negatively?
I don't think it's had any effect, to be honest. No, I don't think it's had any effect. I think, well, possibly with Bet365 might have looked favourably on it because I've had accounts with Bet365 that seem to have lasted quite a long time, even though I've been like doing a lot of match betting and stuff with them. But in terms of the other ones like Betfair and stuff, they've always kind of closed me down, and they'll like remove your casino offers as well. They'll take them away, and then a lot of them kind of just standalone casinos. So I don't think it's had too much effect, to be honest.
Yeah. All right, mate. Let's move on. I'll just remove my screen for a sec while I change images. So the last one that we haven't gone through is your trading. And I guess, I mean, this is one of the most popular topics as you go through YouTube, especially. There's all sorts of people doing videos on trading, and I guess it's just very popular because it's one of the rare places in betting where you can make a full-time living out of trading sports betting. So there's lots of people looking to gain an edge there, mate. Do you want to speak us through your journey here from month 1 all the way to 48, and how much time you've invested there? Because a lot of people will say like this should be the place you invest the most in, because once you figure it out, then you don't have to worry about account limitations anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point. So when I started, I was doing kind of quite a lot of horse racing. I was doing like early morning horse racing stuff and football. But like as time, like I said with other stuff, as time goes on, like edges disappear. So there used to be like a really easy edge where there was one exchange that just followed Betfair, but with a slight delay. So you could basically just watch something move on Betfair and know that it was going to move like 10 seconds later on this other exchange. So you could like just lay and then back and make money there. So early on I was doing that until they kind of cottoned onto it, and they made it a lot quicker so that it wasn't just following Betfair with like a 10-second delay, because that was very easy to exploit. And even then I should have made more of that. Like I never really completely hammered it because I didn't want them to get rid of me. So I always just kind of took a little bit of money with that. And then like the MMA markets, like I'd say in the last few years, they've become something that you can trade. Like early on, I'd say like 4 years ago, there wasn't as much liquidity. So because I kind of followed the sport quite well, I understand the ranges of the prices. So I don't want to give away my edge here, actually. I'll keep quiet about that. But yeah, I do more on MMA and boxing now because I understand what fighters should be priced at. I can position myself in like decent positions, basically. And you can do that with other sports as well if you understand it very well. So for me, it's just opportunity based. Like I don't do too much horse racing anymore, just because I just didn't find I had the time with that, to be honest. So that was just something I kind of knocked on the head. I mean, I still do it every now and again if I spot something obvious, but for me, it's more about obvious opportunities now. Like I do know quite a few people who do really well from like pre-match trading, but they're very like focused on it, and they have lots of different sources. I think you talked to a guy who was on about using journalists and stuff. I can't remember his name, sorry. But I know Yeah, I know
I'm
people
too
that.
tired to remember.
Is it
names.
Tony? I think it was called Tony. I think.
Alvarez, yeah, Tony Alvarez.
That was it. Yeah. So I know people that use that like a similar approach to him basically, but it's all with that. It's all about getting the information as quick as possible. And for me, I'm just like a bit more relaxed. I just take the easiest opportunities that I can see really.
Mm. Okay, so nowadays, are you doing any more like outside of MMA? Are you doing any football trading or anything like that?
So I do a little bit in play, but it's more straight betting now. Like especially, I just find it easier to be honest. To if something's value, and then you can bet it and just forget about it. With trading, it's a lot. There's a bit more maintenance unless you've automated it. Like you've kind of you've got to be there. You've got to be making very quick decisions, especially when it comes to horse racing. If you're doing it like 5 minutes before the off, you've got to be able to like process that information very quickly and then make decisive action. And I found that I wasn't very good at processing information very quickly. Well, I was a bit better like doing early morning racing to like 20 minutes, 10 minutes before the start. I was a bit better with that because you've got more time to assess stuff. And then with football as well, that's a little bit better because you've got like a longer period of time. I mean, stuff like FA Cup's really good. If you can get information that the team's going to be playing some youngsters, or like the Man United Leicester game the other week where United, they had like 4 games in like 8 days, so they fielded a weak team against Leicester. Like if you can get that type of information, then you can make a lot of money. So if like someone asked me like the easiest way to make money from trading, that would be what I would say. Would kind of look for those the best opportunities, the easiest opportunities. But it's just about getting that information really and reacting as quick as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like a bit of at least to me from the outside, it looks like a little bit of a slog. Like it takes a long time, I feel like, to get really good at trading. Having talked to guys like Neil Shah, who we've had on the channel lots of times, like he's spent the last year trying to get better and better at trading, and he just said like it's just so time consuming and it's very hard to even quantify whether there's an edge there or not. And I think the time consuming is like the worst part of it because let's just say, I know this like it's probably not a great comparison, but imagine like following a tipster versus being like trying to nail the sports trading markets. Like you could sit down to watch a football game and be trading that, and that's 2 hours of your time gone. Whereas you could get a tip from a tipster and you can place it within a couple of minutes. So in terms of like time investment, I know it's not a great
No, I kind of see where you're coming from. You've got to be really committed, haven't you? Because obviously there's a lot of people trading it. Sometimes there's courtsiders, there's people with faster streams than you have normally, so you've got a bit of a lag. So people are seeing stuff before you're seeing it. So, I mean, sometimes there are like obvious opportunities. Like there was like Real Madrid played Chelsea a few weeks ago and like the under got smashed in that market. It was like under 2.5 was like 1.6 before the game even started. But when the game started, Chelsea had like 3 really good chances inside 15 minutes. So, and the odds pre-match didn't represent what was going on in play. And that's, that happens more in like European football because there's not it's a bit harder to like assess, right? You're not seeing them like week to week. So it's, there are opportunities there, but it's just kind of, like you say, it's very competitive. So it's a bit tougher than, like say, value betting, for example.
Yeah, definitely. And even in MMA, I've noticed like I reckon the odds are a bit sharper now than they were a year ago. Because I reckon I first started actually looking at the odds in live MMA markets about a year ago, and I remember like the first couple of times I did it, I was essentially betting on every single fight because I saw value in just about every fight. But nowadays, when I have been logging on, my MMA watching's been quite poor of recent times. But when I have logged on and looked at the odds, there's not really like that obvious, like, you have to take that kind of price floating out there.
What I'm finding with the MMA markets is like the early lines get taken a lot quicker now. So odds used to hang around a bit more. Like I was saying about that Andrea Lee being like 2.6, like 2 weeks out, and then I looked like a week before the fight or 5 days or whatever, and she was 2.2. it doesn't hang around. I think there's more people betting MMA, and I think there's a lot more like sharper money in the markets now. I mean, there's still money to be made and stuff, but I do agree that it's a bit, it's not as easy as it was, let's say, 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Awesome, mate. I think we've just about gone through all of the graphs you've sent me. So we've gone through trading, sports betting, value betting, match betting, arbing, casinos, and following tipsters, mate. So you've tried a lot of things, mate. I reckon a good summary question would be, if you went back in time to month 1, what would you tell the Ryan of 19 years old, let's just say, mate? What would you tell him?
Buy some Bitcoin, probably. I think that would be the easiest way, and then not bother with any of this. Just go and sit on the beach and drink tequila or something. I don't know. I'd just probably say that edges don't last forever. So when you do find an edge, make sure you take advantage of it, because it's not just going to hang around for a few years waiting for you to build up your bankroll and stuff. You need to probably be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any strategy or anything that you've tried that you wish you maybe never tried, or I don't know, a mistake you've made that you wish you could have adapted from?
I mean, I started betting 10 years ago. So before I started all this challenge and stuff, I just randomly, I went on a betting reviews website and just followed some random tipsters that they'd kind of said were good, and lost $1,000. So that wasn't great, but it's just like anything really. It's you've got to just put the time in and kind of learn as you go, I suppose. It's just striking that balance, I think, between not staking too much but not staking too small either. And I mean, you can't go far wrong with match betting and value betting. That's a good, I think that's the best basis for most people. It's just, you can still make a few grand from value betting, and then from match betting, to have that bankroll for value betting. And then there's always boosts and stuff like that as well that bookmakers do. So you can, it's not too hard to churn over a few hundred bets a week value betting. So match betting and value betting would just be probably what I'd say to stick with.
And moving into the future, mate, are you thinking of going along a similar path that you're doing right now, or are you thinking you want to hone in on a certain skill a bit more, or is there any definitive plan that you've got going forward?
So just started staking more on MMA because I'm pretty confident in my edge there. Apart from yesterday, it's been pretty good the last few years, MMA to me. So stick with that. And like I said, probably just kind of be a bit more aggressive with the edges that I do know that I definitely have. And then just try and kind of scale everything else up. I mean, you can scale value betting up. It's about getting accounts, isn't it? And that's another topic, really. It's the...
Yeah. I mean, that is a whole nother topic, getting accounts. All right, let's. I haven't really got any more questions for you, mate. I mean, we obviously get you on the podcast every now and then too, so got plenty of other times to ask questions. But if anyone else that is watching this live has any more questions for Ryan, then send them through pronto, and we can get to them. Is there anything else I haven't covered today, mate, that you think's worth mentioning? It's been pretty deep, gone pretty deep. Got obviously some more UFC around the corner. Is there anything that's exciting you coming up? I can have a look at the next card that's coming. Is that the Garbrandt Font card?
Yeah, I quite like Rob Font, but like I was saying about odds moving a lot quicker, because Garbrandt's probably the bigger name there, so you kind of expect him to be the favourite. But I do favour Font in that fight, and the money has come for Font, so I found that quite interesting. So I had to jump on that bet a little bit earlier as I saw it was coming in. So I've looked at a little bit of stuff for next week's card, but not too much. But I'd be interested in asking you actually, what's your approach? You talked about you're gonna be betting more, taking it a bit more serious. So what's your approach? Is it mainly value betting, or are you planning to do anything aside from that?
Yeah, so I guess a few things I can't really say what it is because I'm not allowed to share exactly some of the things that I'm doing. It's not dodgy or anything like that. It's just other people's information I can't be giving out. But yeah. So I guess to be honest, mate, lots of different things that I've just been able to find decent edges in, and I guess I'm just going to try and explore all those avenues. And yeah, I think the biggest thing that I worry about is the whole staking thing and making sure that I have a part-time income there from TradeMate, so that keeps me like relatively safe. It means that even if I have a bad losing month, it's not like I'm going to be on the streets or anything like that. So yeah, it's just about finding that balance. But in terms of what I'll be doing, so TradeMate will be one of them. Obviously, like I've increased my stakes pretty decently with TradeMate and using the software. The problem is we don't really support many Aussie bookies. So I think I've only got 3 Australian bookies on the software that I can use, and the exchanges too on top of that. So it's pretty tough to get like a decent amount of turnover when there's only 3 bookies. I mean, the thing is, those 3 bookies though kind of have the same odds as a lot of other bookies in Australia. But then, I mean, all you're really doing is, so there'll always be accounts there at least, but it's not like you can go big and start staking. So you got TradeMate. And then I think just mostly just following other tipsters that there's a tipster that I've followed this year that's had like a 40% ROI. Like it's just been insane. And I know there's probably a lot of run good there, but he's just taken like a completely different strategy to the way he looks at football and stuff like that, which I was always just really interested by. And I mean, I'd happily shout out his name, and it'd probably be nice of me to do, but I think at the moment, like I struggle to get his prices enough at the moment. Like it actually works out if I don't shout him out and give some of his stuff away. But I think overall, just like my ability to have done the podcast and meet so many great people through TradeMate, like yourself and Jonas and Haru and Anthony, like all these guys that I've been able to build relationships with throughout the last year or so. And obviously the main thing is just, we've done like over 100 episodes of the podcast and talking to guys like Marius too, who's really smart. And I've just learned so much from sports betting in the last, basically if you wound the clock back 2 years ago, mate, like I was just like any punter on the street that just like to have a bit of fun on the weekend. So have learned a lot and built some really cool relationships, and I guess that's set me up to be able to do this part-time. But I guess it's just been, finding that edge, and then you've got to act on it. Like I've made some decent money as a side income, but when you're trying to feed yourself with that money too, that's a different story. That's a different emotional ride. Because I was talking to Neil about it because he was I don't know if he was having a crack at me or anything, but I was kind of just saying like, yeah, I just lost a couple of grand on TradeMate on the week, but that's part of the game. Like you just kind of get used to it, kind of thing. And he was like, yeah, but it's a different story. You're trying to feed yourself with that money. I'm like, yeah, I guess that's fair enough. I have a full-time job, so it's not like it's going to kill me.
Yeah, I've got a lot of respect for people that do it full-time because, like you say, the swings must be a little bit more difficult unless you got a huge bankroll and you're already pretty much, financially secure. But if you're working off a smaller bankroll, even like I don't know how much I would kind of want in the bank to do it full time, but even with like 40, 50K, I'd still be pretty edgy, I think, about doing it full time, just because, like if you look on TradeMate sometimes and if you've got access to the big data tool, like you can find profitable strategies, but you can see that them strategies might not make money for like 6,000 bets. And that can be scary to look at when you're doing it full time. So yeah, I do have a lot of respect for anyone that does it full time because it must be pretty tough.
Yeah, no, definitely. Shane just sent through a few messages here. He says, greetings from Dublin, Ireland. Nice to have a stretch in the evenings here. June, big month for sports betting compounding. Euro 2020, Wimbledon coming up. I think the French Open starts in a week, I believe. I could be
All right.
wrong there. So that'll be good. And then Wimbledon's normally straight after. So that'll be a good month for everyone. And he says variance will always be your friend or against you in the markets. It's probably about being able to ride out those storms or these storms and only betting in correct percentages. Oh my God, percentages. Oh, I can't even pronounce percentages. Like seriously.
You said it right.
Is it percentages? Oh mate, I'm having a shocker. I gotta go back to bed. We'll allow this. Sorry, Shane. I completely botched your statement there, but yeah, it's probably time for me to go back to bed. But yeah, no, it is an exciting time coming up. I'm very excited about the Tennyson trade, mate. We've had some very, very, very good results of late, which has not really been the case over the years. Maybe finally variance is playing out, mate, and where those, I think we've had something like a 10% ROI the last couple of months on the non-recommended league. So yeah, we'll see if we can.
That's interesting.
Yeah, really interesting. I mean, normally it's been quite poor, and the theory was that, or at least Marius's theory was that sometimes if you've got like a smaller tournament, like a challenger, or I don't know, even like just a normal ATP event, if someone like a Federer or Nadal are playing there, like maybe they don't take it as seriously as a Grand Slam tournament, which I guess is a fair statement. But I think like having talked to guys like Dan Weston and stuff like that, like it's more so the fact that the market was just hugely inefficient, or maybe not hugely inefficient, but very inefficient compared to football and stuff like that. So yeah, you got to do a bit of research, I think, with the old tennis betting to get the best out of it. You done much tennis betting with trade, mate?
No, I mean it pops up quite a bit on the like if you've got the sharp settings, you do get like quite a few like decent edges on Betfair and Matchbook and stuff. So I always wondered about that. You get like 4 or 5% edges sometimes with the pro software. But well, like you say, maybe there's a reason for that. Do the people that are putting the money on the exchange know more, than Pinnacle? Because I don't know what Pinnacle's kind of liquid it is like for those type of markets. But yeah, tennis does seem to be a tough one to crack.
Yeah, I mean it's nothing compared to the liquidity they have for an EPL game or anything. I think like I've had a breeze through every now and then, and maybe like 5, 6, 7 hours before a tennis match, there might be like 1,000 and a half euros worth of liquidity in the market. So, yeah, it can shift pretty quickly. But all right, mate. If there's nothing else to cover today, we might as well call it a day, and I can go back to bed. I mean, we can both go to bed essentially.
Yeah, I need to get some time on my Xbox. It's kids are asleep, wife's asleep as well. So yeah,
mate, how good! This is the little me
playtime for me.
Yeah, next week. I'm not sure if we'll be back, but I'm not sure if I will have a guest. I mean, should have a guest. I just have no idea who that will be. I'm a little bit unorganized, but thanks for watching, everyone. If you are still here, please give us a like and comment any questions if you're watching this back on the afterwards and have any questions. Always happy to go back in and answer those. So yeah, throw out any comments. And always happy to hear suggestions for what you guys want to talk about going forward on the stream. I'm really not fussed about what I talk about here and what guests I get on. So I think it's just a nice, relaxed environment. Can have a yarn with people, get some stuff up on the screen, and show all sorts of graphs and stuff like that. So yeah, thanks for coming along today, mate.
Cheers for having me on.
It's been quality, mate, and especially for myself, like listening to someone that's kind of doing it half-ish part-time. I mean, you've more so molded into full-time over the years, or at least close to it. And yeah, not like a big bankroll like your Jonas's and stuff like that. So it's always interesting to hear someone that's kind of more like searching for a I don't know, like a more of a passive income, I guess you'd say, and still doing it.
Yeah, it's like a retirement fund for me. That's the way I see it. It's early retirement, hopefully.
Yeah, mate. Oh, be beautiful, mate. We'll join one day. We'll join Jonas on the beach somewhere about about 50 years after him, probably, but we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, probably.
All right, thanks for watching, everyone. I will play the little outro video, and we'll catch you next week.